I'd like to call the Township of North Huntington Board of Commissioners work session meeting for Thursday, December 11th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Hempel.
Here.
Commissioner Atwood.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Zona.
Here.
Commissioner Bevan.
Here.
Commissioner McHugh.
Here.
President Hagus.
Here, could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If any residents would like to speak tonight, could you please sign the book at the podium? Thank you. First residents, Nick, if you just want to come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Nick. I'm here tonight to place a complete documented record before this board regarding the allegation that a firearm was brandished towards police and first responders during the July 7, 2024 crash and the township's subsequent public handling of that allegation. Everything I'm about to state is grounded in official meeting minutes, right-to-know filings, and the Office of Open Records final determination. On January 9, 2025, during a duly advertised public meeting, I stated on the record that my family had been involved in a serious crash in which a weapon was brandished allegedly towards first responders. That statement is memorialized in the township's official minutes, which will be Exhibit A, January 9, 2025 work session minutes. The township's own timeline and actions. So according to the township's sworn submission to the Office of Open Records, after my public statement, Commissioner Eric Gass called for an investigation into whether Nolan Patrick Mullen brandished a firearm towards police or emergency responders. On January 13th of 2025, the board met in executive session with police leadership to review witness statements and discuss the incident. At the January 15th, 2025 regular meeting, the township publicly stated that the allegation was unfounded. This not only is a characterization, this is the township's own description of events. So Exhibit B is the OOR final determination. The official June 18th, 2025 meeting minutes reflect a public statement that after Commissioner Gass called for an investigation, he received a phone call from Chief Rizzo during which the chief used profanities, and I am the one that made that statement. Eric told me that. The statement I made appears in the June 18th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. The right-to-know request, so 3 parts, 3 outcomes. After the township publicly declared the allegation unfounded, a right-to-know request was submitted seeking 3 separate categories of records. The Office of Open Records ruled on each part independently. Part 1, which was the investigation. The request sought all documents and investigation into whether a firearm was brandished towards police or first responders. The Office of Open Records ruled that it lacked jurisdiction over criminal investigation because that was tied to the car accident. They couldn't do anything. We understand that, okay? But here's the issue. There was and never has been merits determining that the records do not exist or that the allegation was false. So the request also sought records showing what documentation the board relied upon when it declared it unfounded. The township denied this portion, invoking the executive session exemption. The Office of Open Records ruled that the township failed to meet its burden of proof and did not adequately justify withholding the records. Exhibit D is this determination. So the request sought emails, correspondence, and non-police administrative records related to the allegation. The Office of Open Records ruled that the township did not demonstrate that all such records were exempt and that this portion of the request was granted in part subjected to lawful redaction. We have no issue with things being redacted that we are not allowed to see. Not a problem. Despite these rulings, though, the township has continued to rely on the single word unfounded, as though it conclusively resolves the issue. But the public record shows police investigative records were never adjudicated by the merits by the OOR, the board's executive session jurisdiction was not proven, and that the administrative records were at least partially releasable. That is a public conclusion paired with withheld documentation. What I am placing on the record tonight I am now placing into the public record that I possess internal incident report documentation and eyewitness accounts stating that Nolan Patrick Mullen did in fact brandish a firearm and pointed it in the direction of police and first responders. So, I have the email that Skip Cook sent to Harry Falk the day after the investigation was called for. I then have emails from some of the first responders on scene. These are the ones who were treating Katie. What I will now read is the first-hand account by who had the pistol pointed at them, we can assume. On July 7th, 1325, North Huntington EMS Rescue was dispatched to a two-vehicle accident at Clay Pike and Brokers Lane. 2 ambulances and the rescue truck went en route. Once on scene, EMS identified 3 patients and split crews to triage appropriately. There is a redaction, a name I'm assuming, whoever that is, made contact with the male driver of the vehicle. The male had blood covering his face and substantial damage to the front of his vehicle. When attempting to assess the patient on the side of the road, with the police present, he appeared to be irate. At this point, the patient pulled a pistol out of his waistband and started to flash it towards the police officer with the pistol. You guys are now accessories to crimes. You understand? Rich, I see your son's in the room. I want to work with you, Rich. You got a great track record. I wanted to work with Eric. You, Zona, are hopeless. Dice, you're worthless. Zach, I don't know, man. You seem to have had a good track record, but you're trading it in. Harry, 11 different places you've been missing money and big contracting. Atwood, Meatlog, like they called you back in high school. You're worthless as well. I'm sorry. Tom, you don't do anything. I don't even know why you're up there, buddy. I mean, I kind of feel bad for you because I think you're way out of your element and you thought this was going to be just a smooth thing. And Fran, did you really say in 2016 that North Huntington wasn't ready for a black chief? I mean, you really said, listen, your old commissioners, your old employees, anybody that has beef with you, I'm trending on all social media platforms right now. I put my email out there. The document, not only that, but I want to use the last 30 seconds. I have built a hardcore presentation to give the public. You guys have been told to stop developing. They told you guys a long time ago to stop. I have all the records. You were told not to develop anymore until they could do things to make things safer. There's a Jersey barrier project with handle jugs coming next year, but you guys can't wait, right? Because our safety is irrelevant, because you guys just want to jack up the tax, because that's the money, right? This is a business. I'm a businessman. I know business. Don't worry. I'm done, Zach. But like you guys are now accessories to crime. So please, Rich, please work with me, Rich. I've been trying to work with you this whole time, Rich.
All right, thank you. Our next resident's John, if you want to come up to state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. John Batis, 11957 McKee Road, North Huntington, PA. As a proud North Huntington Township resident here for nearly 20 years, I'd like to thank you all for giving us your opinions on the tax increase that we had to, the adjustment we had to plan for the future. I thought you all gave your opinions very gallantly, and you explained yourselves very well, which I think the public really appreciates in general. Commissioner Gray, I thank you for stopping by my house. I did get your card, and we will be in contact in the future. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come to my home to address my personal matter in general, which is what the conversation and things that we all talk about, or I've been coming up here for a while about. My next question would be, are there bylaws or specific, instances, or is this a courtroom that we're in here litigating open cases that sounds like Law and Order, or are we here for taxpayer, homeowner issues, zoning issues, things like that? This gentleman's free to talk all he wants, and he says a lot. I love some of his scripture quotes, which are fantastic. But a lot of the conversation really sounds more of a legal battle than it is for township business. So I just didn't know, as a citizen that comes up here to hear the business of the township itself, I'd like to know specifically if there are some requirements. I'm more than willing to give you my license to show you and show you my tax records for the past 18 years of living in this township in general. I also have a question which I'd like clarification to. I know this is taped, it's on YouTube, and it's live. Is there another reason we have a camera in here recording live, just in general? Curiosity speak, in my, just trying to understand why the redundancy in general. This is about township business. This is about the taxpayers who live in this township and keep the lights on, keep the business and commerce in this township moving forward. I don't feel that this should be a platform for likes, clicks, social stuff, things around across the world, things like that. It's no place for that here. Just my little humble opinion, and I look forward to your answer and guidance for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last resident's Don, if you want to come up to the podium, say your name and address for the record, please.
Hey, I'm hoping this is one of the last times anyways, but I have a couple different things, 3 that come to mind real quick. First of all, I do want to tell I think she told me it was the Public Works that decorated the outside. Fantastic job. This building looks beautiful from the outside, and when you're greeted with the things inside, just as beautiful. I think you guys did a fantastic job, and thank you for making the township look festive for the holidays for the kids. I think that's beautiful. Moving on, I wanted to ask, Christian himself had asked me the last time I spoke to come up and ask you guys, and again, here we are. So as Christian continues to heal and progress, and God bless him, he has exceeded everybody's expectation and inside and out. Couldn't have asked for a more complete healing than what we've received. In that healing, he's learning things when he was in a coma, like the Township Rescue 8. The first responders, there was a crew of 8 of them that came to my house and witnessed probably one of the most horrific scenes any of them will have ever been on and will be on with the results of Christian lived. And I hope the fact that he lives brings them comfort. However, during the time a Christian was still in the PICU early on, Forbes Hospital, where he was transported to, had honored them with a Medal of Excellence. And what was very strange to me, and still is to this day, the township did not. At a hospital, a doctor from an emergency room came down to congratulate the men and women who went so far above and beyond in a scene that no normal person would want to see. I seen it. I seen my son laying on the floor with his face blown off. I was the one who gave him CPR till Clay arrived and was able to intubate in my basement, and I thank God for that man every day of my life, and so does Christian. But what I want from this township, you have an amazing Rescue 8 team and crew out saving lives for your residents every day. And a few meetings ago, you recognized that. And what I find so bizarre is you wouldn't recognize them, all 8 of them. It took 8 of them in an ambulance to keep my son alive. And you know what? They did. And they don't ask for recognition. They probably don't even want it. But God knows they deserve it, and this town deserves to honor those people. And Christian asked me to come here to please, with this board, please acknowledge that crew, Rescue 8, and let the entire township know what fine people are serving them. They deserve to know. They deserve when they're walking down the road and someone sees them, they're like, you know what, I thank God you're here, because if I ever have to experience that, I want that guy coming to my door. And that township, you guys should be proud of them. And the fact that you're hiding this, that's very bizarre, to say the least. My second point of business is Ted Kukic. I sat right there and I listened to one of the most god-awful rants about why the Oversight Committee. Ron, I didn't want to be your boss, now nor ever. I don't have the time of day to do you. All I wanted was for somebody up here to recognize, like Rich Gray, we are the oversight. That's your job. You're the commissioners. You oversee how the police are being handled. And on that same day, December 25th, 2023, when my life was ripped upside down and turned inside out in ways I didn't know was humanly possible, Ted Kukic was the first person that I seen. The first person to wrap his arms around me, and he felt like he picked up all the broken pieces and held them together when my world was just crashing all around me. And I stood here and I listened to a Pennsylvania state trooper half-heartedly say that he's doing too much, citing lawbreakers because lawbreakers are breaking laws and they don't like it. And so that makes Ted a bad guy. Shame on this department. Shame on them. That man served this community for 28 years with honesty and integrity. And Tom, you served. You served. And you would let one of your own, Ron, you served. And you would let one of your own take a fall like that. Shame on all of you. I'm gonna let it go there for today. I'll be back.
Thank you. Is there any other residents who would like to speak tonight that didn't get a chance to sign the book at the podium? Yeah, come up, sir. You can state your name and address.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the commissioners this evening. My name is William Galassa. I live at 13741 Mike Road. And this is my neighbor, Joe Baker, next door neighbor. Two other neighbors of mine were not able to be here tonight, Dave Nelson and also Sarah Bear. Thank you, Joe. The reason we're here tonight, I want to thank Commissioner Gray for hearing us and suggesting that we come this evening. Our issue is with the Norwin Soccer Club. They installed some extremely bright lighting that shines directly on the back of our homes, all the people that live on that side of Mike Road. Commissioner Gray has been down to witness it. I invite any of the rest of you. I think the township manager and his assistant were possibly there too. But anyway, it's been a very difficult journey. I'm a reasonable man. Since August, I have attempted to contact the president of the Norwin Soccer Club. I went twice face-to-face over to the snack bar area, talked to an employee once. He was to relay our concerns to the president. No response, so I also went to another employee who called the president on the phone and wouldn't give me his phone number, though. We didn't get anywhere that way. So I'd like to present over 3 months of emails that I've gone back and forth with the president, and it's still an issue. They really haven't done anything to alleviate the problem. Joe has actually talked to the president, so I asked him to come.
I have talked to Rob. I went over there and I was able to catch him there. And at first, he seemed kind of rough. I explained to him, you know, the light is shining directly right into my back of my house, into the kitchen. And he says, oh, we resolved that. And I said, no, you didn't. He said, you emailed me. I said, I never emailed you. So it went on to tell him I did not email him and explain to him who I was. And then he said, well, you know what, we may look into motion detectors. Okay, that's an idea, but with all the wildlife, you're not going to really, you know, solve the issue because it's going to be turning on and off. The light is extremely, extremely bright. When you look out my back door, it looks like a train's coming at you. So Rob at the time said, okay, we'll look at this and we'll see what we can do. Well, it was about at least a month ago now that I've talked to him, and nothing's been done. Okay, on my second issue, where I live on Mike Road, I am at the end of the line of the storm drain system where there's a catch basin in front of my house. It is too small. I had tried working with Rich Albert for the whole length of time I've been living there. since 2008. And the issue of it overflowing and then flooding my garage every time we get a cloudburst. And recently, I found out Rich has retired, Tab has retired, and Cody, I got in contact with him, the township engineer. He came down with the new stormwater person that deals with it. We're going to take care of it, we're going to take care of it. That was in June. They sent the sewage department over with a camera. They sent a camera in, it only went so far and stopped. Now, when I first moved there and had the first time it flooded, I went to the end of the line, which goes out towards the soccer field, and I could see light all the way up to the catch basin. Well, right now, you can't see light. So apparently, it's clogged, blocked, whatever. The township is now, though, telling me that it is going around my garage and not under the garage. Now, I know light doesn't bend, so that pipe has to run under my garage, which, when the place was put there in 1999, when that property was, put together with the townhouse or the home on it. Okay, my time's up, but it needs to be looked into. I'm waiting for Cody to get back in touch with me to see when they're going to try to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you. Whom should I present?
You can
these
give this,
emails
you give it to me, and Manager Falk can disperse it to the board. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other residents who would like to speak tonight? If not, response to citizen input. I believe our first resident was Nick. Any response to Nick?
Yes, I have a response for Nick. Nick, I never said what you said that I said. So, you're going to have to prove it to me, because I would never have said something like that. Never. Never. And don't talk back.
Excuse me, Nick.
Your problem, Nick, your problem is you have no respect for anybody.
Excuse me, Nick. Your
You
time is
have
up.
no respect for anybody, be it the commissioners, be it the audience, be it anybody.
First Amendment, you hate it, don't you, Ms. Bevan?
Excuse me, Nick.
Constitution of this great country, don't
No, I do not.
you? Despise it.
Nick.
No, I do not. Nick,
Yes?
I'm a leader of a state organization. Yes. And we are pro-constitutionalists, okay?
Couldn't tell this whole
It's
year
Eagle
and a half.
Forum.
I couldn't
It's
tell
a,
this whole
hey, Nick, you are to be quiet. It is my turn to
Oh,
speak.
guys, you guys better stop her. She is making you guys look so.
Nick, excuse
poor.
me. It's your time.
She's yelling at me, Zach. You're telling me I can't engage. I'm being scolded like I'm her grandson.
She's speaking. Let her speak, please.
To scold me. Is that what you guys are to use your time to do? Scold citizens?
Nick, I'm going to ask
When
you to be quiet.
citizens act like children, I think it's okay to scold them.
Big hole, Miss Bevan. Keep it going.
Hey, you know what? My organization is called Eagle Forum.
I know who they are. I know all about you, Miss Bevan.
Excuse me, Nick.
And if you want respect from these commissioners or anyone else, then you have to show respect. Otherwise, you don't deserve it. End of story.
Now, I have a right to
I do have something
Yeah,
else that
go
I
with
would like
that.
to say for
Push that one.
Quick Fix Nick, as he was known in high school. I'll just let the public know that I've been receiving phone calls on behalf of Mr. Carrozza threatening to rape my wife and 6-year-old child and kill my 10-year-old son. They specifically invoke Mr. Carrozza's name and say they were calling on his behalf from all over the country. So,
happened to us, and the police told us to get off the internet. Ted did, actually.
that's funny. I didn't know it was your turn to speak. So I just would like the public to know that we are getting threats personal threats from people.
I can't help what people do with their free time.
Excuse me. Excuse me. If you can't conduct yourself,
Now, I have a constitutional right to respond on the record, Chelsea.
no, public input's over, Nick. I'm sorry, your time to speak. If you're gonna interrupt your, excuse me, Nick, if you're gonna keep interrupting our public meeting, you're gonna be asked to leave.
Control
So I don't need to say anything about
I recommend staying off the internet.
Everybody just
Then
needs
I'm
to
sending
regroup.
people
Pound your
to
little
do
gavel.
this.
do
Nick,
something,
if you guys
Well,
or interrupt the
leave
public
before I
meeting.
sit in here and I'm silenced, is that what makes these crazy claims that people on my behalf? I've come to you guys peacefully for over a year and a half.
I would
came
ask
for-
for proof.
Peacefully isn't threatening people, Nick. I ever showed up at a meeting. I talked to Rich on the phone.
Thank you, Nick. Have a nice night.
Like, okay, have a nice night. See you guys on Wednesday.
Any other response for Nick?
Anything else, guys?
All right, our next resident was John. I believe he asked about public, speaking at public meetings as far as having to do with public business. And I believe you also asked about having to be a resident to speak, if I'm not mistaken. Chelsea, correct me if I'm wrong, but public's allowed to speak. We've always, since I've been around, let the public speak about any concern. I know other communities would only let residents speak on agenda items, which I believe the Sunshine Law Act would allow. But since I've been on board, and Rich could correct me, but we've always let residents come up to speak, and even non-residents. Spoke to a resident up here earlier tonight, and when the Marcellus Shale gas thing came around years ago, we had residents that weren't part of the community that come from Washington County, Fayette County, and spoke. I think we were probably here 3 hours that night from just other people speaking. So I don't know if that clarifies Mr. Batis's questions or if there's something I might have left out.
One of the other questions was about the second camera. Citizens are allowed to bring in their own cameras and record. So if Mr. Carozza wants to bring in his camera, he's legally allowed to do that.
Anything else for Mr. Batis?
Yes. John, I did stop at your house. You weren't there. I did watch the last meeting and where you kind of called me out for not calling you and not stopping, I guess. But you may remember that when you brought the stop sign matter on McKee Road to my attention, probably, I'm guessing how long you've been coming here, I don't know. Was it 2 years ago maybe, or approaching that year ago or so? You called me originally and we had a discussion and I explained the township's position on that we can't do that, put in a four-way stop there. And I told you the history of us having to actually remove other stop signs that were not legal, put up by previous boards. And so we had a lengthy discussion back then, but I said the township side of the story. And why I've said nothing pretty much since is because you've come and spoken about the same matter, and we've had professionals like Mr. Robinson, Harry Falk, and experienced people like Zach that have been on the board during that time where we had to remove signs. So I felt that if you didn't take my word for it, maybe you would take other people's words. So I don't see the situation changing. I know Commissioner Zona is working with the state, I believe, to have some, I don't know what it is, a law passed or whatever, something modified for PennDOT where it would permit a four-way stop, but I don't see that going anywhere too soon. So that's why I haven't engaged you since, because I already kind of laid out my position in the townships. So thank you.
And that is on the agenda for later. We can discuss it. But real quickly, as Commissioner Gray said, I know the last couple of meetings, Mr. Battis. I did meet this past week with Senator Ward, and I wasn't trying to get anything changed. I just wanted them to take a look at it through PennDOT too. I sat for a good while with them, and they went over all their findings from PennDOT, and it's basically what we have here saying, and their words were, we can't put a stop sign there because then we have the liability on it if something would happen. If somebody would have an accident there or something because of the stop sign, we're liable for it. So basically everything, and I know we're going to go over it again. Bob, I think you're going to go over, we have a report on the agenda today, so we'll go over it more. But I did speak with Senator Ward about it last week, and they really concur with everything we've done, and in their follow-up, they say there's nothing else other than what we're doing that they can do on their level. So, but we'll get into it a little deeper here in a bit.
Anything else for Mr. Batis? All right, thank you. Our next resident was Dawn. I know she touched on a few items. I appreciate your acknowledgement of Public Works and staff decorating for the holidays. And then I guess I could touch a little bit about the first responder. I guess I would apologize that we didn't recognize the Rescue Aid employees that handled your situation that unfortunately you had to deal with. But a lot of times, I mean, they help serve the community between them, the police department, the fire departments. I would hate to say we'd be up here every meeting giving off multiple awards, and I know your case was definitely something outside the normal, and maybe that we should have took the opportunity to recognize it. But I think they all do a great job, and I think the board greatly appreciates all the first responders between the three groups, like I said. I just don't think there's a lot of times that we, as a board, reach out to recognize. I think if someone would have came to us and said, hey, could we recognize these employees at the meeting? Yeah.
I don't want to mislead you in thinking that I didn't approach during and while that was happening. I had conversations with Rizzo, who was very clear about the situation, and because of what happened to my son, that was the reason given.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, now I spoke to some of you, and it doesn't matter at this point. The right to know, Harry, there's an ongoing investigation, or that's a little confusing.
Usually we don't have a give and take, but if you want to talk just for a minute or two, if you come up to the mic, please, for me.
Sure. So there seems to be some confusion with what happened to Christian. Is there an ongoing investigation? Is the investigation tabled? Because I filed a right to know involving some other things. Is this one threatening to be closed on the behalf of my right to know I filed? So I don't know if that plays a role in why North Huntington would not want to honor those, because Chief Rizzo led me to the impression that Christian's story was an embarrassment and not one that should be publicized. However, it has been publicized. There's articles about it in the Trib of what happened to him, not only through the community. Now, obviously, no details about the investigation that is tabled or ongoing have been released to anybody, including myself. So I don't know if that was where Rizzo, or if this township, I didn't ask you to honor them for every call, because you'll probably never see another call like Christian's with an ending like Christian's again. That far exceeds. Now, I didn't come up here tonight because I wanted to. I've expressed to you guys, I don't really like talking to you, but my son, when he says, will you speak? I feel obligated to come up and address. Whether you respond to him, you don't respond to him, you acknowledge these people, you don't acknowledge these people. Forbes did your job 2 years ago. I think it's a stain on the community that you wouldn't promote your own people. Your own people. You have heroes out here. I'm not asking you to promote, somebody who got for a phone call. They came to this house with a kid with his face missing and saved his life. I think that's worth some recognition. And if you disagree and you think that it's just like every other call that they have to transport someone to a hospital, I mean, so be it. I don't really care what your reasoning is why you didn't. But what I do care about is my son thinks it's strange. I think it's strange. I wouldn't be leaving this community if I thought you were worth anything. I don't. I'm done. I wouldn't want to pay your taxes for anything, because the services that I received, except for with Ted Kugrich, which I ran him out, and except for the Rescue Aid people, I don't think North Huntington, I wouldn't recommend anyone come here and pay a dime for the schools, for the township itself. Public Works, though, they are a cool program, I will tell you that. But I think that this township has a lot to gain, to be improved on. And you guys sit up here silently. I don't care if you respond to me. Like, I'm kind of past where Nick is. Nick wants you to engage with them. I could care less if you do or not.
Thank you. I
So
mean,
just
the one
do
thing
it.
I can tell you, and I don't want to speak for the whole board, but no one ever asked this board to reach out to us to recognize anything that, anybody with your situation at all.
Perhaps if Rizzo came to the meetings like he was supposed to last year,
I
maybe
know,
somebody would have.
like I said, unfortunately, it's not a give and take. But no one's reached out to me personally.
Daughter just texted me and said,
Any other response to Don?
Don,
Don.
if I can, Don, I would like to say, I would definitely concur with you, Don, and being a first responders in this community and all over the United States, you do see some horrific things, but this is, and I'm sure I wasn't there, that is beyond horrific what they went through. Absolutely, and listen, that's what I'm saying. I totally concur with you because I know I've seen a lot of things, and just something like that where they could actually put their skills to use to actually save the young man's life in such a tragic situation. So I do believe that is above and beyond, and I would be all for. I don't think I was on the board when that occurred. I don't remember.
you weren't here.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I would be all for recommending them to receive an award here because I do believe that is above and beyond.
I think some of them left too. and went to
So
different
even
departments.
if you went to Clay and shook his hand and he said thank you, I mean, just, that is a call. And even Clay himself said to his crew that day, you'll never see another call like this with this result.
And I believe it. Can you provide me the names of everybody?
I have a list of email.
Thank you.
Any other response to Don tonight?
About the lights at the soccer field.
Yeah.
Who installed them? Did we install them?
No, I was going to say, we're going to get to those last two residents, William and Joe. I believe, obviously, maybe Manager Falk or Assistant Manager Fonzie, we have a light pollution ordinance. I don't believe, unless these are new lights or prior existing, but it sounds like they're at least either replacement lights that were maybe brighter.
So the challenge there is that they don't have an active land development. They never got land development approval for the buildings and for the site. So through Mr. Gray's email and the residents' emails, we learned that the soccer club put some floodlight security lights on the concession stand building. So I had been in email conversations with Mr. Bunovich this week, and he agreed to have those redirected towards the ground Saturday or Sunday this weekend. So I'm hoping that he's true to his word and fixes that issue for the neighbors there, and they won't have that glare coming into their living rooms.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for coming up because I was down there, and you're right, it is like a freight train coming into your living room. And these lights were put up, for the board's knowledge, these lights were put up maybe in August or over the summer when the trees had leaves on them. And once the leaves fell off, the lights are directed directly at the houses. The face of the light faces the window, parallel. I mean, just directly in their windows. So I sent Manager Falk pictures, and he can share them with the board. But it is obnoxious, the light that comes. So thank you for coming and speaking.
And so hopefully we can try to get that to rest with Assistant Manager Fonzie. And then if you guys please reach out to staff here, if you don't see something change, hopefully within the week, and then we can readdress that with the Norwood Soccer Club. And then I believe, Joe, you also mentioned you had some issues with stormwater. We could have our Township Engineer and Public Works reach out to you with Manager Falk, try to get a remedy. if that's not already on our hit list of some stormwater projects.
It is on our list,
Okay.
and we have been there. I was there, sir. It's in line.
Okay.
We've done some things there in the past. I know
Mhm.
there's an issue. It's just on a long line of our projects.
All right, thank you.
It's a little bit challenging the way the pipe's laid out, and we'll definitely try to do something when we can.
All right, thanks. Any other response to citizens' input tonight? All right. Work session discussion topics, Manager Falk.
Item number 1, the 2024 audit presentation. Chris from our auditing office here will present the audit to you.
Thank you, sir. If you want, we can pass them down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Falk and the board and President Haggis. I'm Chris Robertson. I'm from Turnley Robertson and Associates. We had undergone a firm name change as of last year from Mark C. Turnley to Turnley Robertson and Associates. So we brought in the partnership. We've added some additional staff. I'm one of the new partners of the firm. There's 3 of us, Mark, myself, and another person named Travis Ganara. So it is my pleasure to be here. I'm the lead auditor on the audit here, as well as, like I said, one of the partners. We have good news in terms of your audit opinion again this year. Will be unmodified opinion. You know, we've presented you with the draft. And I want to just go over a few of the overall analysis. On the first page, this is the 5-year analysis of your general fund balance. And essentially, it shows that there's a steady, healthy fund balance, and it has grown over the years. You've weathered some of the similar, the COVID situation, as well as, economic situations over these past few years, and you're in a good situation. If you go to the next page, please. This is your general fund fund balance analysis of unassigned fund balance, and your unassigned fund balance has grown, which your unassigned fund balance is available for your general operations. So that gives you emergency, any sort of contingency situations. You do have a significant amount of money to draw from to address those situations. So that's very important, and that has trended in the same direction as your general fund balance. And there's some language on here about some standards that certain organizations put out about unassigned fund balance, and you're well exceeding those standards, typically 2 months of your expenditures for the year. So you're well in excess of that. Go to the next page, please. There's 2 parts of this. This is for your general fund again. Your revenue analysis over 5 years and your expenditures analysis. Your total revenues versus the prior year, you did have some increases, mainly in your police tech grants, and that was for your radio systems. So it's mainly one of the areas. The rest of your revenues were relatively flat, especially taxes. There were some ups and downs in the categories, but overall, you're relatively steady with the prior year. For your expenditures, you did have an increase from the prior year. You were spending on police tech gear, as I mentioned, radio systems that you had the grant for. You also had the MS4 pollution initiatives. Those were, expensive as well. You go to the next page, please. I have a small analysis of your budget versus actual results for your general fund. And in general, your budgeted revenues, those exceed your actual revenues, so you were overall favorable. 3 categories, interest and rent, so you did have unexpectedly high interest from your bank accounts, which is very favorable, so you do have some high rates that continue to benefit the township. Your intergovernmental, you did have those police grants, which are part of your excess, because those were budgeted conservatively. Also, for your charges for services, those were unfavorable. Mainly, I have paving reimbursements that you didn't have from the prior year, so those revenues didn't materialize this year. Your general fund budgeted expenditures exceeded the actual expenditures by a small amount. Two notable areas: your public works was unfavorable because of MS4. And then your culture and recreation, that was favorable due to not purchasing any playground equipment as you budgeted for. Towards the bottom of this page, there's some other fund activity. For example, your liquid fuels fund, that decreased during the year because you're spending that money to provide for roads and other related services, which is a normal situation. Sometimes you build up from one year and then you draw down the next, depending on your needs as a township. Your light fund increased a small amount. If you go to the next page, there's a few other funds. You have a water fund, you have a fire service fund, which those both increased, typically due to some related to the real estate revenues that are part of those funds, and to the extent of any spending in those funds for those purposes. The capital project fund, which is towards the middle of the page, that fund balance did decrease during the year due to spending. The last few pages, these are just some other matters and other comments we typically provide. We have no findings or any comments to present. No negative issues were uncovered. Harry and his staff were well organized, really helped us out with the audit, so we really do appreciate that. Did anyone have any questions at this time?
I'm not seeing any from the board.
Okay, I
Thank
would
you.
be available, in coming days or weeks, depending on what your needs are, if you read anything or if you have any questions. But we'll be finalizing the audit shortly, and I'll be communicating it with Mr. Falk.
Right,
So,
thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And just to add a couple notes, as you can see on page 4, in 2024, our revenues exceeded by $498,000, and we used that nearly $500,000 to balance the 2025 budget. And as you can see, you subtract that $500,000 on page 1 on the general fund balance analysis on 2024, we ended the year with 6.3. If you subtract that $500,000 then to balance the budget, but remember we also used $1.4 million out of that general fund reserve to pay for the projects, the capital projects that we did throughout the year as far as stormwater work. So, are there any questions about the 2024 audit? Next week, you'll have an action item to accept the audit. All right, item number 2, the 2026 road improvement program. I will turn this over to Mr. Robinson.
Good evening. You have a spreadsheet before you that shows the scope of work that we're proposing for 2026. Most of the work will be within wards 3, 4, and 5, with exception of Norton Avenue. The first 13 roads, McKee down through North Whitmore, are related to the Columbia Gas 2025 project. And we have a project agreement with them. We have received a check for $328,000 from Columbia Gas. That's in our paving escrow. And that basically covers about half the project, or paving one lane. Then the next group of roads are fiber mat projects, and that's McCannon from Robin Station to Lucia. There's a section on McCannon that is very dangerous. You come up over the hills, very narrow, and particularly in the evening and when the sunshine, we need to widen that out there to make much more safe, and we will do that in this contract. So McCannon, Robin Station Road, just from Spiker to Glenwood, Coulterville Road, the section from Ridge to South Purcells. Then the section of Coulter from White Oak to Ridge, where the Water Authority paved half that, we will be milling and resurfacing the other half of that. And so with Coulterville, there's a Tomco lane that we're going to fiber mat that, and that's a skid project during the winter, so we're going to be really improving that so that they can salt that. The Norman Avenue, we're moving out of 3, 4, and 5. We just have to address Norman Avenue this year due to the condition. We will plan to do that at night. And then there's a chance if we have additional funding, there's Rhonda Court, that there's some issues there. It'd be nice to do Rhonda Court, but this budget only includes the $329,000 from our paving escrow bus plus about $1 million. Then also, we have Five Pines from Colonial Manor to Roberta. That's an ad alternate. I doubt if we're going to be able to do that. We do plan on being back in wards 3, 4, 5 in 2027 for a couple of reasons. First of all, there's a lot of candidates in 3, 4, 5 that we need to address. Plus, there's a second Columbia Gas project on the other side of Robin Station Road. That includes Roth, Adams, Harold, actually 12 other roads, a project about as big as we have right now. And we have a project agreement with Columbia Gas, and we received a check for $390,000 that's in our paving escrow. And that will pay even more than 50%. One portion of Adams was paved within the last 5 years, so Columbia is paying for the full width of that one. So these agreements that we have with the utilities are win-win for our residents, the township, and utilities, and saving monies on both sides. Any road improvement program, you can not only look at the roads in worse shape, you got to look at a method to keep the better roads in good condition. And to some extent, our fiber mat, those are mostly C-rated roads, helps with that. Our crack sealing, we do on our 3-year-old roads. And this year, something new we're adding is it's called pavement rejuvenation. And we plan, and that could only put that on newer roads, 3-year-old roads. And what that is, it's a liquid product that actually penetrates into the asphalt surface, softens it up, changes the viscosity, and helps find cracks, pull back together, and extend the useful life. This isn't a cure-all. I mean, we still need to properly fund our annual road improvement program, and hopefully future years much more than we're doing now. But that's our plan for 2026, and so we'll have three contracts: the milling and resurfacing, the one for our fiber mat, which we include the crack sealing through, and the bituminous pavement rejuvenation. That'll be a separate contractor. I'm not sure if there's any contractors in Pennsylvania that do this. There's one or two in Ohio, and it is a good product. I've used it in the past, and it does work. Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3, the solar ordinance, the second draft of the solar ordinance. I'll turn it over to Assistant Manager Fonzie.
Yes, I reformatted the ordinance you saw last month just to clean it up a little bit. And I did leave out the wind systems that was part of the other one. So this is just dealing with solar, whether it's the personal residential panels that can go freestanding in the yard or on the roof. And also it addresses the large-scale solar farms like we have on Shawty Hill Road right now is proposed. So, if you take a look at it, give me your input on what you like. I kind of like the minimum 50 acres for the large-scale solar farm, 250-foot setback from any property line. That kind of gives it a large buffer from any road, potentially any residential neighbors. And the other thing that the other draft kind of referenced, the operating sound with decibel levels. I wanted to take that out. I just wanted to state that it must be not in violation of our noise ordinance, which is very subjective. But again, we did it that way on purpose. So I don't know if anybody on the board had any questions on this draft in front of you.
I just want to say we're glad you took out the wind sections. I did some research from the Department of Energy. The wind tower needs to be 30 feet higher than any obstacle within 300 feet. So I can imagine that being quite tall in a neighborhood. The wind, I think, is something that we should probably not want to have in the township right now. As far as the solar part of this, I think it looks much better than it did last time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board comments or questions?
I have a couple of things. I pulled up some other ordinances other townships had. It's placing them on right-of-ways. I don't think we have any verbiage in here that protects putting them on easements or right-of-ways.
That should just be with the general zoning if they're getting a permit.
Okay.
They have to obey all setbacks.
Okay, that was, well, it was in somebody else's. I didn't know
Yeah,
if it
because
was
we
something
would consider that a
we
structure.
shoulda- Okay.
Yeah.
Another one was on the bigger systems, a rapid disconnect. It's like in case there was an emergency there.
Okay.
That was actually in Hampton Townships.
Okay.
I
So,
can,
so like not a decommissioning, but like basically like unplugging.
yeah, like in case of an emergency, a rapid disconnect.
Okay, I can take a look at that.
Yeah,
and-
I'll give you this paperwork here. And
Okay.
then, one other thing I had on decommissioning was actually from Mount Pleasant. It says, at the time of the application, the facility owner will provide the township with an estimate of cost performing the decommissioning. Then the township will hold 10% of that cost and reevaluate it every 5 years, whether it goes up or down. They'll hold that in case.
Okay,
Yeah,
like an
so-
escrow, keep an escrow
Yes.
and, okay, and that's in Mount Pleasant's
Yes, Mount
language?
Pleasant.
Okay.
Yeah, I can give you all
Yeah,
these, but.
please.
Yeah, those were a couple things that I read that stood out to me.
Okay, we can work that in.
Anything else from the board on the solar panel ordinance?
I do have one other question. With the solar panels, are we going to address anything regarding like non-pervious surfaces with those solar panels, or the fact that whenever it would rain, it would run down and?
They are, so the proposed solar farm has to have stormwater management.
Okay, so that we would just rely on the
On the land
stormwater
development
management
approvals,
verbiage
correct.
that's already in existence?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Assistant Manager Fonzie.
We will update it and provide a draft number 3 at next month's meeting. Thank you, everyone. Item number 4, the McKee Road and MacArthur Drive intersection. I will turn this over to Mr. Robinson again.
A stop sign is a traffic control device, and any traffic control device in Pennsylvania, a stop sign, a yield sign, speed limit sign, even parking signs, a traffic signal, should have an engineering study, and for any enactment and placement, have applicable warrants. For instance, on a stop sign or a multi-way stop sign, there's 3 basic warrants. One is traffic accident history. Any traffic accidents in the last 5 years. There is none at MacArthur and McKee. The other is volume warrants. I mean, the volume warrants are pretty hard to meet. When you have 2 roads, you have a major road and a minor road, and that's typically defined by how much traffic is on each road. Obviously, McKee Road is a major, MacArthur is a minor. For the volume warrants on the major, it needs to be a minimum 300 vehicles per hour for an 8-hour period for each hour. And at the same 8-hour period, on the minor road, which is MacArthur, you need to have 200 vehicles, not only vehicles or combination of vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. Obviously, we don't have that. So the warrants for volume, very difficult. It's very difficult to stop a major road with a minor road that doesn't have much traffic, with the exception if there's a sight distance issue. And there is plenty of sight distance. Cody and I looked. We used our laser. When you look at sight distance from the intersection, you go back 10 feet. Assume your height of your eye is 3.5 feet, and you look at an object on the roadway. There's more than sufficient sight distance on both directions. So really, there are no warrants and it would be illegal for the township or any municipality to install multi-way stop signs for speed control. And it's expressly indicated in the code. We did look at one of the PennDOT LTAP did a study, and a lot of the recommendations that we did put in the study, the signage, the push button signs where pedestrian is crossing, you push the sign, the lights come on. I think it's safe. But we did look, one of their recommendations was to consider a raised crosswalk. And a raised crosswalk would be more or less like a speed table, which would definitely slow, a speed table, raised crosswalk would slow traffic down. However, it doesn't fit. A raised crosswalk the top would be 6 to 8 foot wide, 3 to 4 inches deep, then you have to have ramps going up. It doesn't fit in the intersection. You would have to have a ramp to that sidewalk coming down into the intersection. It doesn't fit. It would be very awkward. The only thing you could do to put a raised sidewalk would be to move it down toward Robin Station Road. Plus, you'd have to build a sidewalk down, raised crosswalk, cross the other side, and just don't have the topography. On the other side, on the park side, you'd have to fill in an area, build a retaining wall with a railing, with the side. I don't think anybody would use it. I don't think you have a whole lot of pedestrian. The only thing that we could add, and it said in the study, would be to consider nighttime lighting. There is a pole there. We could add a street light for additional safety at night for dusk. But I've looked at that many times, and this is the first time I really put everything together. There are no warrants, so I would strongly suggest that we do not consider multi-way stops. Are there communities that put multi-way stops to control speed? Yes. Am I going to tell you who they are? No. It's illegal to do so.
Any more discussion on the report?
Bob, I was going to ask you that about the lights. I had that highlighted here. Is there any lighting out there? Are there street lights out there at that intersection?
No, I mean, I just come through there tonight. It's pretty dark.
Mr. Battis would know. Is there street lights at that intersection, do you know? No. Okay.
There is a pole right at
Okay.
MacArthur and McKee. We could consider putting a light there.
Because this report does say that most pedestrian fatalities happen in low light levels. And
What we can do is outfit those crosswalks, or the post with the flashing yellows. We can outfit those with lights. So when you activate the button, when you press the button to cross the street, not only will the yellow lights flash, but then a spotlight will turn on each end, highlighting that intersection. So that way there's not light there all the time, just when somebody crosses.
that LTAP report also says no parking signs should be considered for both approaches to McKee Road. Do we have any issues with cars parking
I
on that
don't
road?
think anybody parks.
I've never seen
on
any when
McKee.
I use that road.
I mean, it would be redundant to put
Okay.
no parking signs. If people start parking, yeah, we could certainly have warrants for no parking, but just to put no parking signs up when nobody's parking there, I think that's redundant.
Mr. Bates, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Mr. Robinson, I don't know if you've heard any of my speeches from the private here, but Mr. Gray said before, I've never used this term speed ever in any of my public statements, and discussions with any of the board members. I read those warrants as well as, when I started this whole journey at the beginning. So those statements, I've never used the term trying to slow people down, trying to do any of that stuff. Actually, in this moment in time,
John, you mind if, unless you're just about finished, you want to come up to the podium?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer the township not spend another nickel then. If we're all in agreement that this is just how it's gonna be, let's not waste another nickel on that intersection. To deem the intersection safe, I'm sorry, God forbid actually happens, I hope I'm not around. That's all I'm saying. I never use the word speed. I don't like the rumble strips. Those lights, people think that's funny. I mean, they just blast right through them. I think it's a waste of money. I feel bad that we even spent a nickel, honestly, at this point. So respectfully, I've never said this word speed.
Thank you.
So we do plan, when we mill and resurface McKee this year, replicate everything that's there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Can I ask real quick, just for a definition, on that Table 1, Guide for Improving Pedestrian Safety and Uncontrolled Crossing Locations, number 8 is road diet. Can you define that for me?
What page are you on?
It's the,
Page 6.
yeah, it's the chart with all the boxes with numbers 1 through 9.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah, number 8 says road diet, and I've never heard that before either, and I was wondering what that meant, if
That's
you knew
new
what
to
that
me.
meant.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Manager Falk?
Item number 5, the Axon Taser Purchase Agreement. Our tasers, each officer is assigned a taser. Those tasers are no longer manufactured. That model's no longer manufactured, no longer, if something were to happen or malfunction, we wouldn't be able to replace it. Police Department has in their capital project, or capital project fund, to replace those tasers, along with training devices, warranties, for a price of $134,000. It'd be billed $25,000 a year for 5 years, and that is in the budget, in the capital budget, once that's approved next month. So we can afford it, and it is a need that does need replaced. They're less lethal. These tasers, these models, they're able to shoot, I think about 25 feet further. Don't quote me. But I guess the old tasers that we currently use, you shoot them, they only go about 10, 15 feet. These are able to go up to, I think, 40 feet. And are there any questions about the tasers? Maybe Commissioner Zona can answer, or one of the police officers. I don't use a taser.
Is it 25 of them, or is it 30? Or is that a different number? 'Cause on that first page, it says quantity 25 of it says bundle taser 10 to 25, and
Right.
under it, it says another bundle 5.
I think they're going to be 25.
25, okay.
Yes.
And the second one, what it says 5, it says add-on, so that must be something different, okay.
Any other board questions?
Yes. Is what we have in front of us accurate?
It is accurate, yes.
Commissioner Zona asked the discrepancy, pointed out a discrepancy. Which one is right, 25 or 30 or?
It is 25 tasers.
That other thing, Rich, I'm looking at says add-on, so see right here. So I don't know what that one's a quantity of 5 add-on. We just have to find out, because it's a lot less price. I don't know if that's cartridges, because you get the cartridges that go in them. I don't,
Lieutenant McCurdy can speak more about this whenever, we put it on the agenda for, if there's a motion in a second, and then for discussion, he could be able to dive more into the type of taser and the need.
On the itemized down below, the only thing that's really listed as 5 is like the additional battery pack, 5 additional battery pack.
Yeah.
So that's what it might be.
And they all do take a battery, a little battery that goes in.
So, we can get it clarified next week, and if you want to put it on for the agenda, we could ask for clarification before we.
Yeah,
take a
I
vote.
apologize, Lieutenant McCurdy couldn't be here tonight to fully explain, so I try to do the best that I can.
Yep, no problem.
And it could be batteries, like these guys probably know. You have extra batteries, I'm sure, right? If your taser is, if the battery's low on it?
I think so,
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Okay.
Any other questions?
Item number 6 is a tax collector office lease. We currently have a lease with the tax collector that dates back to 2002. And under this agreement, the township leases 513 square feet of office space to the tax collector at a rate of $156.25 per month, totaling $1,875 annually, which equates to $3.65 per square foot. The current market rate for office space in North Huntington is approximately $16 a square foot per year. At that rate, the annual cost for 513 square feet would be $8,208. Due to space constraints, the Community Development Department plans to expand into part of the existing tax office, thus reducing its size to half by 256 square feet. At that market rate of $16 a square foot, the annual cost for 256 square feet would be $4,096. So I put a chart down there highlighting the square footage and the square feet and the annual cost. As you know, the current tax collector we'll have a new tax collector sworn in the first of the year. She would like to have her office here at the municipal building. We do pay, the township does pay for the electric, gas, and water and sewage for it. The current tax collector currently pays for their own internet service and phone line. I do not have an issue adding another phone line onto it. It's just they'll have a phone and an extension, so that way it makes it easier. If somebody calls the front office, we can just transfer them right back to the tax office, and vice versa. So that way you don't have to pick up the phone and call another number. However, the internet, talking to our ID department, we do want to keep that separate. We do not want to share an internet service, even if the internet comes in and they don't have access to our servers. There's still a way to be able to hack in and do that. So they'll have to get their own internet for their computer. So basically, it's just a boilerplate lease. I just need the board just needs to decide on how much to charge per square foot.
I think a lot of the conversation on the lease came up, I know Commissioner Zona brought up some stuff about the office hours from the outgoing tax collector. I'm not so much concerned about the cost. I don't know if we could put something in the lease that if they have open office hours, I'm okay leaving the square footage cost the same, long as that we have open office hours that the public can come up to, whatever we want to designate that to be, like 8 hours a week or certain days of the week. But I think that was Mr. Zona's main concern. I know that was a lot of residents' concerns that our current tax collector that's going to be leaving, that has had residents did not have the capability of coming up to the office and talking with someone was a main issue. So
Yeah,
I mean, as
agree.
far as the rent price, I'm okay leaving the same, long as we have open office hours that we could have a discussion with her, the new incoming tax collector, whatever the board would see fit to that.
Yeah, I'm good with that, too. Is she aware of the reduced space that she's gonna have?
Yes.
And she's okay with that? That's all she needs?
Yes.
Perfect.
A question maybe for the solicitor. Are we allowed to dictate that they need to be open certain hours, or is that beyond the scope of our power?
If you're leasing a space, I think you could say, we want you to be here during this period. But if you're not leasing it, it's up to her of how she wants to address when she's operating as a tax collector or not. I mean, that would be part of your lease, so that's how you would be able to mandate it versus, she could go somewhere else and do it however she wants.
Yeah, I too would like to see something in the lease about public hours.
I can't speak for her because she's not here, but I've spoken to her. Dorothy Dombrowski is going to be our new tax collector, and she had stated verbally that she is going to have some evening hours here. So that's definitely an improvement, especially for the residents that can't get here during the day. So there again, I'm not speaking for her, but just verbally she had mentioned that to me. So.
Yeah, and I spoke to her too. I don't think we'll have an issue with office hours with her. I think that's going to be a moot point, but I like the idea.
Okay, we'll,
Maybe, Manager Falk, if you maybe want to reach out to her and see what she has planned, and we could maybe put something in the lease, so, because obviously we probably want this for next week, unfortunately, or going forward, because she'll be in office here soon.
well, I think I'm okay if it could be pushed back to January, but I
Okay.
wouldn't want to push it back any further.
Yeah, but we could reach out to her and see
Absolutely.
if it was something that she was already planning on doing office hours, we can bring that and put that part of the lease.
All right. Thank you. Item number 7 is the copy of the 2026 salary scale resolution. This is just the scale of salaries for all the non-union employees, basically the department directors and the zoning staff. There is no change in this. It's historically, the board would change this according to the inflation, the scale, but of course that could be unsustainable. And if you recall last year, what I did was I took the current salaries, did a 15% minimum and max, and the board approved that. This is the same salary scale as last year. What this does is it allows me to, when I advertise for an open position, advertise the salary and be able to negotiate with that. So this will be on the agenda for next week's consideration. Are there any questions? All right. Seeing none, moving on to item number 8, the 2026 salary and wage schedule. This is the resolution setting forth the salaries for 2026 budget. These are budgeted according to the evaluations that were performed and directed from the Board of Commissioners. Are there any questions about this resolution? I did leave the Director of Community Development off because we're searching for one right now, and the Chief of Police will be searching for that as well later on in 2026. So once we have those positions hired, then you'll have an updated salary resolution. Any questions? All right, item number 9, advertisement for the reorg meeting. We're going to have a reorg meeting on the first Monday of January. Is there a planning commission meeting that night? I didn't think there was.
There's not, we didn't receive any applications, so.
Okay, so this year we have some flexibility. Would the board like to have the swearing-in ceremony at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night? Again, it's a reorg meeting. We're going to swear in the newly elected commissioners and tax collector. And there will be pretty much no other business, just reappointing the solicitor, the consulting engineer. So historically, these only lasted for about 15, 20 minutes, a half hour at the most. So I just need to know what date and time, or what time.
I'm okay for 7, but
I think 7 would keep it consistent with what we normally do.
Okay.
is that January 5th?
Yes, first Monday in January, first Monday of the new year. And that is state code.
Yeah, sounds like Monday the 5th at 7 p.m.
All right, you will have an agenda item for consideration next month to advertise that meeting, because that has to be advertised. All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 10, the 2271 Timothy Road Streetlight Tax Assessment. I'll turn this over to Manager, or Assistant Manager Fonzie.
Yeah, as you recall, last month, Mr. Albert spoke to the board about his, I'd say, abnormally high tax assessment for his streetlight. He does have quite a lot more frontage than anybody else does on Timothy Road. He's at around 627 feet, whereas the average is a little over 100 feet. For a corner lot, we do give a 50% discount on the assessment, but he was still paying over $300 a year versus some of the neighbors were paying around $100. So what I did, just looking at Timothy Drive or Timothy Road, there's only 4 streetlights there and 9 properties. So I took the average frontage of the other 8 properties and then divided that and got with the cost per foot and got the average of around $150. So essentially that gives Mr. Albert about a 50% discount. I did convey that to him. He seemed satisfied with that. If the board would feel the need to reduce that to make it more equitable for where he's living and the benefit of the light that he's getting, which, as he said, he's not really benefiting that much from it because he kind of sits below and he's a little bit further away. So if you have any other thoughts or any other questions on how I did the analysis, I'd be happy to answer those. And then if that's approved next week, I can provide an updated assessment to the incoming tax collector so she can change that rate for that parcel.
So you'll have an action item for consideration at next week's meeting for the parcel. So that way that'll stay with the parcel indefinitely. So if he ever sells the house, that parcel will maintain that same assessment.
Thank you, Assistant Manager Fonzie and Manager Falk.
Mm-hmm.
That is the end of my discussion topics.
All right. Any further board comments?
I do have a couple things. A couple months ago, I asked for some reports from the police regarding the targeted speeding areas in the township. I did not receive anything from anybody regarding that. I was wondering if we can get that sent over. And the other thing that I have is the intersection of Brokers Lane and Clay Pike. There has been some discussion about putting a stop sign there. The county engineer, I spoke with Commissioner Ted Kopis. I saw him one day and I asked him about it. And he said that we had some concerns from the North Huntington Township Police Department about putting those stop signs in, and there was a delay regarding that. I was wondering what the delay was, and why we were apprehensive and making those intersections safer.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Chief Rizzo, but if I recall, I don't recall it being a delay, but I think the concerns was there would be stopped vehicles stopping for that stop sign, and then vehicles coming around the corner or up over the hill, rear-ending the vehicles that are stopped on Clay Pike. I think that was the safety concern from Chief Rizzo at that time when we were out there discussing that.
I mean, is that enough to have us not put those stop signs there? And I think you run the risk of getting rear-ended at a stop sign at any stop sign.
True. I don't know. I'll have to go back and revisit it, and we could talk with Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. There is plenty of sight distance. That sight distance was not one of the warrants. I think the accidents were, but it was really close. But the accident history is really not definitive for the types of accidents. But as far as sight distance, there is plenty of sight distance for the 85th percentile speed.
Yeah, the comments that I got from the county engineer and the commissioners indicated that the delay was on our end, that they were all for it, and I just wanted to bring that up and see what the holdup really was. I'd be more than happy to forward that email on to everybody so they can read.
I mean, that's Clay Pike you're talking, right? That is a county road. I mean, if the county decides to put a stop sign there, we can't hold them up.
That's correct.
Yeah.
If they do install stops, there should be warrants. I think the only possible warrant would be like I said, the traffic accident analysis, and it's right on the border. We could make a case either way.
But I mean, we can't go out there
No.
and say, we don't want it there, and then we can't be, I mean, I don't know if we're really the ones holding that up, that's my point. If that's a county road, they can, and if they feel that it fits one of those warrants and they feel they're legally allowed to put it up, they can put it up, right?
That's correct.
Any other further board comments? Commissioner Gray?
Yes, one, floating back to the taser issue, was this something we bid?
I'll have to check with the police department, but if they are a CoStar's vendor, then no, we don't have to go out for bid for it.
Okay.
So, because it's also a single source item.
Okay, I was wondering about the unit cost on that. And then my other concern that I kind of brought up before was, do we know exactly what we're getting? How many of what, and is it all needed? I recall we bought cameras for the parks, even with grant money, that whereas the total number of cameras did not agree with the itemized list of cameras. I think there was a difference of 4 cameras, I believe. I think one number was 12 we voted on, but I think the itemized list said 16 if you added them up. So I'm not sure. I was a little annoyed when we made that deal or voted to pass that. Not sure of exactly what we were getting, how many of each. And I don't remember hearing a final, it was the old, we'll look at it for next week before we vote on it. And I don't believe we got that answer at the next meeting where we voted. But I just wanted to raise that issue again, if we could be certain of this bid, exactly what it is. And was it bid, did we have to? The unit cost seems a little bit high.
I mean, I think next week,
That's-
obviously, like we were saying, the lieutenant should be here, and we can probably
Yeah.
get some of those answers, obviously,
Yeah.
before then even email it to us, but then we can try to get some more of those details from
Right.
the police department.
Yeah, and I agree, he'll give us more detail, but I know just when you have tasers, you always, it's prudent to have a couple extra, because if somebody's has to go out of service, you want a replacement. As with a service weapon, most departments buy extra, and you usually have 2 or 3 extra guns even for your officers. So yeah, we gotta find out the total amount, but it may be 2 or 3 extra than the officers that we actually have. And Axon is the leading, I believe, the leading company for tasers, body cams, and, I mean, maybe they have Axon body cams and it's compatible with all of that. But we can find out.
Right, any further board comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by saying an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:28. Executive session to follow, talk about legal matters.
Kim Ward wants 2 of those tickets, so I will take 2 off you tonight and then maybe 2 more next week from me. Sorry. Stretch my legs.
I know, we've been sitting there
For a while.
Couple hours.